Hi, and welcome back to another edition of Sports Talk Philadelphia here on LaSalle TV. We have a great show, an action-packed show lined up for you today. But first, let me introduce the panel. As always, Tyler Harper. Since he did so good last week, Eric Mullen's back on, a first-timer. Jordan Green, thanks for coming on to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, we appreciate you coming on. We'll start with the hot topic in Philadelphia right now. Philadelphia Phillies have played 3 baseball games. They're 1-2, which isn't great. But opening day was a highlight, guys. Might be the only one of the season. Let's take a look at what they did on opening day. They won 14-10 against the Texas Rangers. Jimmy Rollins, 1 for 6, okay, but he had a grand slam. Cliff Lee, 5 innings pitched, 11 hits, 8 earned runs. Was this what you guys were expecting when you turned on the TV to watch the Phillies on Game 1 of the season?
Absolutely not. Let me just say that I am really glad that I am not a gambling man, because if I was, I'm sure I would have bet the under on the run total for this game and lost a lot of money.
What was it, 8?
Oh, I'm sure it was around there,
8.
but it surpassed it greatly, as you saw, with a great final score. But no, I was very surprised when I saw Jimmy Rollins had a grand slam and they were rolling. I'm like, all right. And then Cliff Lee gave up a 6-run lead, so I don't know exactly how I feel about that. But the offense was able to battle back again and get back the lead and get the win. So, I mean, yeah, they're only 1-2 right now, but I guess the offense is showing some signs of life, which is more than what I thought going into the season.
Yeah, it was the complete opposite of what happened in spring training. Cliff Lee was so strong in spring training, and the Phillies couldn't hit anything. And last weekend they exploded for 14 runs, and Cliff Lee just gets hammered. So, I mean, it doesn't make any sense, and this just shows you don't put much into spring training.
Thank you.
Yeah, if J-Roll and all the turmoil he endured this past spring training, on his first at-bat to, just hit a grand slam. And then Cliff Lee, he wasn't quite the Cliff Lee we come to know, giving up as many runs as he did. It was pretty unexpected, I must say. But it was entertaining nonetheless. So.
Yeah, did it give you guys kind of more hope going into the rest of the season? Because, like you said, spring training didn't go well offensively. They couldn't score any runs. And to explode for 14, is that a good sign, or is this just an anomaly? Should you take nothing out of it?
It's definitely a good sign, but again, they've only played 3 games thus far. Let's not get into a frenzy here or there. Yes, they're only 1-2, but let's not panic just yet. Yes, they put out 14 runs on opening day, but let's not praise the offense yet. You got to let this game breathe. As the saying goes, almost every manager and player says it, baseball is a long season. It stretches out over months at a time, 162 games, as cliche as it is. Because of that, you can't buy into everything you see the first series in April. You've got to let the offense try to gel together, try to get all the pieces together. Of course, Jimmy Rollins went back with his wife as they just had the birth of their next child, so he's going to be gone for a couple days. But when he comes back, that will add another element to this lineup. So you've got to wait and see with these things.
Yeah, I love looking on Twitter, especially the first weekend or the first couple games of the season, and just the overreaction of all teams. Like Yankee fans are saying, "Oh, we shouldn't have let Cano go, and these are terrible signings." It's 162 games. This is just the beginning. Don't overreact. Yeah, the Phillies exploded, but I mean, we'll see a month in if they're still hitting like this and if Cliff Lee is still pitching like this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, people are, screaming shades of 08, and, at the end of the day, they weren't playing the best pitcher. So I think we have to take it with a grain of salt, but I like what I'm seeing. Howard's not pulling the ball like he does a lot of the times. Cody Ashley's injected some energy into the lineup. That's what they needed, some youth. And Rivera, he came on last year before the injury. It was good to see him out there. It was good to see the team kind of come together after a tumultuous spring training. Let's see what they can do going forward.
And I always say that spring training stats don't mean anything. Neither do they after the first 3 days of the season, but let's take a look at them anyways. The Phillies' offensive stats for the first 3 games, they've scored 19 runs, which ranks them second in the MLB. They're hitting .306, on base of .364, and they're slugging .468, which ranks all top 5 in the major leagues. Do you guys take anything out of this at all?
No, like we've been saying, it's 3 games. And even Texas, even though they're projected to be a favorite in the West with all the moves they made, they've still got to get time to gel together too. Because keep in mind, and I think Jordan mentioned it earlier, their ace is out right now. They did not face Yu Darvish. Yu Darvish was on the DL for opening day. So that was kind of an advantage in the Phillies' favor. I think if Yu Darvish was on the mound opening day, things would have greatly varied for that Phillies offense. But they were able to take advantage of the situation presented. So again, give them a month or 2, see how this offense shapes out, and we can kind of begin to get a census of what this team is actually going to be this season.
Yeah, even their second best pitcher was out. Derek Holland was out for the whole series. So, Yeah, we'll see, but it was encouraging to see for the whole 3 games, Howard, Ashe, Bird, and Utley all really had good series at the plate. So that's promising going forward, but again, it's 3 games.
Yeah, despite the numbers put up in the first game, I did like some of the energy I saw when they were fielding balls.
Yeah, they showed some patience at the plate too, which I know you guys mentioned. Do you guys you mentioned that Ryan Howard was not pulling the ball? How encouraging is that going into the rest of the season? He's older, a little older.
Yeah, he even tried to take an extra base on when he came home, and that didn't work out too well. He's not limping, but at the end of the day, he's not the fastest guy. But like I said, I like the energy that they're playing with, but it's a long season, so. But I like to see how they're going to look when, Cole comes back. Hopefully he comes back. But I think the key for this season is just their durability. I think if they're all healthy, I think they have a legitimate shot to, maybe get a wild card. But I see some of the same issues that plagued them last year. So, again, I have my reservations.
Yeah, just another comment on the Ryan Howard issue, how he came out and the other night hit that homer, that bombed the center field off the lefty. That's a really encouraging sign to see that the last time we really saw him do that was back around like 2010, 09 when he was really in that groove before he got hurt. So to see him be able to do that, I'm not saying he's going to return to that form necessarily.
But on the way home, he's feeling pretty good.
Hey, but it's definitely encouraging to see either big piece hitting a big bomb like that. But another thing, too, when he's not hitting homers, he's striking out. So it's kind of a mixed bag right now.
Yeah. One thing that's not going well for the Phillies is their bullpen. In the last game, the 3rd game of the season, which is the previous one before this show, Jonathan Papelbon blew another save. He blew the 5-4 game to the Rangers. Last year, he had 7 blown saves. Guys, just how important is it to get him going and on the right track?
Yeah,
can they?
It's gonna be very important to try to get the old Cinco Ocho back, as he likes to refer to himself on the mound.
He can just go away.
Yeah. And there were, of course, numerous reports in the offseason about a possibility of him getting traded. But my question when I saw those was, who's going to want him? His value wasn't that great at the end of last season. It wasn't great when he made the comments either about how he's saying, oh, I didn't come here for this. Oh, the fundamentals, yada, yada, yada. Well, I don't know who else he could pin this blown save on but himself. So he really needs to take a hard look at himself and see if he can find that stuff that made him good. He's losing velocity on his fastball. He was able to hit 92 a couple times opening day, but other than that, he's been struggling. He hasn't been able to been himself these past few years, so he really needs to find that, or else something's going to be changed, and something's going to probably be changed in the first couple months.
Yeah, and it wasn't even just Papelbon, it was mostly him, but the whole bullpen, 7 2/3 innings, 10 hits, and 7 runs over the 3-game series, so that's not good at all.
It's unacceptable.
And then for Papelbon, I mean, he's the highest paid closer in baseball, and now 8 saves. That's the 2nd most in the league over the past 2 seasons. I mean, this Ruben Amaro gave him $50 million not to do this. I mean, he should do better.
Yeah, like you said, he's been underwhelming, to say the least. You get the $50 million contract, you're expected to do certain things, but to walk a hitter and lose the game in that fashion, that just kind of demoralizes the whole team. And to throw up your hands after, because you didn't like how your team was positioned during one of the hits, that's just not the way to go about it. You put yourself in that position. More than anything, besides the way he's been playing, his attitude's a little concerning.
Yeah, I agree with you. Do you guys think that he's going to be a Philly for the rest of the year? Is there a chance that they move him or even release him, Eagle style?
Eagle style. Yeah, you mean like if there's connections to anything. Anyway, moving on. I don't know if he could be traded. They might have to just release him if they really want him out of there because, again, he's not showing any value right now. I don't know what team would want him, even as a setup guy. Just the fact that not only have his stats not been there, but again, the fact that he hasn't been the greatest guy in the clubhouse lately. No contending team is going to want that in their bullpen.
Yeah, with 2 years left on that contract and $24 million, there's no way that someone takes him.
Yeah, people don't want to pay closers that much as it is. You're expected to be, Mariano Rivera, although no one's like him.
No
but
one
let's
will
just
ever
get that,
be
of course. But you're going to get paid that much. You got to be a little bit more consistent. And teams weren't really willing to take him on last year. I'm not sure he'll be any better this year. I think we're stuck with him, guys.
So if they can't get rid of him, what do?
They
How do you deal with him?
Eventually, you're going to have to demote him. If Bastardo's been looking all right, maybe you put him in the closer role. role if Papelbon continues. It'll be very interesting to see what Ryan Sandberg and Bob McClure do.
Yeah, or flip what he said, flip-flop Bastardo and put him in the setup role and see if he can handle that. And if not, demote him or release him, anything.
I think he'll be okay. It's early in the season, not going to overreact, but more than anything, his attitude needs to change. Like I said, to walk a guy, to lose a game in that fashion, got to do better.
Yeah, and you mentioned attitude. That's a nice segue into the Philadelphia Eagles part of our show. The Eagles this past week released DeSean Jackson, kind of out of nowhere. There had been talks about his trade value and things of that, and then NJ.com, Elliott Shore Park, came out with a fantastic journalistic article, not coming with DeSean Jackson and gang ties and things like that. So the Eagles, it was kind of their hand was forced to let him go almost in that situation. But let's take a look. Let's take a look at what happened to him. Signed by the Washington Redskins this past year, 3 years, $24 million, $16 million guaranteed. Guys, what do you think of this whole situation, the whole debacle that went down, and how do you think the Eagles handled it?
Well, speaking strictly from a football perspective, because, all the stuff about the ties to the gang members in 2010, and I don't know how much I can really read into that. I'm not really aware of anything like that to a point. I can't tell what's a gang sign, what isn't. But
Really?
Anyway, but speaking purely from a football standpoint, yeah, the Eagles, this is a downgrade no matter what. Because you're losing one of, if not the fastest receiver in the NFL, bar none. And the fact that now he signs with a team in your division to play you twice a year for a really good contract, yeah, that secondary doesn't look all that good anymore, does it, guys? Malcolm Jenkins, we'll be fine. I know. It looked all right when DeSean Jackson was on our side, but now if he's going to be burning us twice, it's going to be a long Sunday facing those guys twice a year.
Yeah, the whole scenario, most interesting to me is the power that Chip Kelly has, because this wasn't Howie Roseman or Jeffrey Lurie's idea to get rid of him. Chip Kelly came to them and said, DeSean Jackson does not buy into my culture. Someone put up a picture of him after they won the NFC East.
I saw that.
It was just him taking a picture, and behind him was the whole team basically taking a picture. So he was like an outcast and just a bad influence. So I'm fine with if he doesn't fit the culture, then fine, you can replace him. Draft. This is a deep wide receiver draft. But if they're just going to release him for nothing, allow him to go to a division rival, now the Eagles aren't the favorites anymore to win the division. I don't understand it. I would have taken a 7th rounder and thrown him to Oakland than let him go for nothing. So I don't get why the front office just panicked so fast, especially after those reports came out, because it was only an hour after that. So.
Yeah, that escalated quickly. It seemed like it was they were just rumors a few weeks ago. Now to find out they actually, they cut him. I don't think anyone saw that coming. You saw the trades that, Brandon Marshall, he's a talented receiver. He got traded in his prime for 2 second-round picks. You look at guys like, T.O. Well, he got cut himself, but it was a little surprising. He's coming off a career year. He seemed to be a great fit. Obviously, money, factored in, but I don't think anybody saw that coming. It's a deep receiver draft, so I'll give Chip Kelly the benefit of the doubt. I think the offense could still be top 5 and 10 in various categories, but it's not gonna be easy to replace a guy like that. Rookie receivers don't normally step in and just take the league by storm.
Right, and I'm just gonna declare I think they're gonna be fine. Honestly, DeSean Jackson he's a great weapon, but how many times did you see the Eagles go over the top to him last year? Honestly, 2 or 3 maybe.
And that was with Vic as the quarterback.
Exactly.
So.
None with Nick Foles, because Nick Foles can't throw the deep ball. But regardless, DeSean Jackson, a great weapon. You guys mentioned you would have loved to see them trade for him, and it is a deep wide receiver draft. Let's take a look at who is in this year's wide receiver draft. At least could be taken in the first round. The first name that comes up is Sammy Watkins from Clemson. There's no chance they get him. Let's just nail that down right now. He's probably going to be a top 5 pick in the draft. Mike Evans from Texas A&M, ranked 13th overall prospect in this draft. He's the guy that the Eagles have been looking at. How excited would you be? And then Braden Cooks, Braden Cooks, 21st overall. He's more of a DeSean Jackson type, a little smaller, a little faster wide receiver. Evans is a little bigger, more physical. Who do you guys want the Eagles to take in this draft, and should they decide to move up to get one of these guys?
I think if they want to try to come as close as they can to replacing DeSean Jackson right away, Mike Evans has to be the guy. He's got the perfect combination of size and speed. Of course, one of Manziel's many targets at Texas A&M. Definitely a huge help. It's going to be very interesting. And I believe, I'm not sure if it was Mike Evans, but I believe from Matt Lombardo on 97.5 when all the rumors started swirling was when apparently when all the rumors started and Chip Kelly got out to call, it was found out that Chip Kelly was actually scouting Mike Evans.
Oh, yeah, he was at his pro day.
Exactly. So because of that, it seems like it's all adding up. So I definitely think Chip Kelly wants Mike Evans, and he's probably talking with Howie Roseman, probably as we speak, to try to trade up, try to package some sort of deal, maybe their first rounder and like a third rounder, to trade up to try to get in the middle of the draft order and get Mike Evans.
Yeah, I would trade up for him. He's the dream prospect from this draft because now they have a glaring hole at wide receiver. 6'5", ran a 4.5 at the combine, but I don't think they're gonna be able to grab him. I mean, unless they give up second and third round picks, but we'll see.
I like Mike Evans, but I think Riley Cooper has, not that he's the athlete that Mike Evans is, but he has a similar game. They're both kind of, go and get it type players, more of a possession receiver, physical. I think Brandon Cooks could come in and, not put up 1,300 yards necessarily, but I think he could kind of serve the Deshaun Jackson-like role, and I think he could be a better receiver in the red zone because he is more physical. He plays, I'm not going to say he plays as fast, but he timed pretty fast at the combine, and he plays fast as well. He just reminds me of Tavon Austin a little bit. So I think that's where they should go.
And just quickly, guys, if they do decide to move up, do you think they should do it now or wait until draft day to see where Evans falls? Because he could move up, he could slide back a little bit.
Yeah, it might be best to wait till, if not draft day, just a couple days before, just to get a gauge of just about where he's going to be and who's interested in him. Because obviously other teams have needs at wide receiver.
Yeah, draft day, and so they can finish their visits with me. Because if they feel like they need help in the defensive secondary, then I would be okay with them taking that because their offense is going to be fine.
Yeah, you never know who's going to fall. They may actually go defense with the first pick. Like you said, it's a deep receiver draft. It wouldn't surprise me if they, get a wide receiver in the second round maybe. Maybe Odell Beckham or Kelvin Benjamin falls. Also, there's a guy, Marquise Lee, who's pretty productive in college. So I think there's a lot of options for him to go after. I don't think they need to trade up before the draft.
All right, well, we'll take a break from the Philadelphia Eagles as we see what they'll do with their draft. Is all of a sudden they have more needs than they would expect. But we'll go on to the Philadelphia 76ers. And guys, guess what? The Sixers won a basketball game.
Woo!
Congrats, guys. They did not set the NBA record for consecutive losses as they took down
the Detroit Pistons.
I almost said Houston Rockets, which would have been a joke. They beat the Pistons by 25, I believe, and everyone got Big Macs. It was a great night down at the Wells Fargo Center. How happy are you that this streak is over and it's no longer an embarrassment?
As happy as I can be. I mean, everybody and their brother knows Sam Hinkie's plan at this point. So, but everybody was wondering, are they gonna break the record? And then they faced Detroit right last weekend, and I saw they were up by 10 in the first quarter, and I couldn't believe my eyes. I was very, very interested to see, so many people were there expecting to see the record, but then when they started getting ahead and dominating Detroit throughout the game, everybody got into it. They were really excited, and of course, as you mentioned, 100 points, Big Macs, so good night all around, and it's nice to get that win and to see how relieved Brett Brown was after the game. That's definitely reassuring.
I think Detroit should just be kicked out of the NBA. Because, Andre Drummond, Brandon Jennings, Greg Monroe, and you can't beat the 76ers. As a fan, I'm happy, but I also kind of wanted to say, I lived through the 27-game losing streak. But they
Put
play
that on a T-shirt.
They play hard every night, and it was rewarding. And then they went back the next two games and lost. So that's probably their last win of the season. So.
I got to be honest. I'm going to miss seeing them on SportsCenter, seeing, the message pop on my phone saying the Sixers lost another game. I'm rigging for Wiggins, but I guess it was good to see him snap it, to score 70 points in the first half. Good for them.
And the only thing we have to look forward to for the Sixers now is the draft. So we'll take a look at the draft picks that the Sixers have in this year's NBA draft. They have a slew of them. First round, they have number 2 and number 11, should the standings hold as the way they are now. In the second round, they have a ton of picks, which they can shop, they can take. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know what Sam Hinkie is planning up in that head of his. No one does. But, guys, the big news was Jabari Parker. He's leaning towards staying at Duke, according to Adam Zagoria. How big of a hit would this be if the Sixers don't land a top 2 pick and have to go without Jabari, Wiggins, or Embiid?
Yeah, it'll be definitely interesting. I don't know if it'll be the end of the world. I don't really think think so. Because, I mean, yes, you want one of those high-profile draft picks to come in and just give the system a shock right away. But I don't know if it's the end of the world. But obviously for the Sixers, it'd be very beneficial if Parker was number one, because then they could get who, in my opinion, is the go-to guy, which is Andrew Wiggins. Because then I think Parker would go one, Wiggins would go two, assuming the Sixers get two. And the Sixers could get one, but I'd really like to see Andrew Wiggins in that Sixers uniform, and I think Jabari Parker coming out for the draft helps that.
Yeah, I was at the game last night, and there were 3 guys with Andrew Wiggins jerseys already.
Really?
So, yeah.
I've seen that on Twitter a lot.
So that just showed, I mean, it's really, I said it last week, it's Wiggins or bust. And if Parker doesn't come out, I mean, if we don't get the first pick, then you have to take somebody. You can't just say, all right, we still want Wiggins. You have to take somebody.
Who do you want then?
I would want Parker, so if Parker's not coming, then Embiid is next, and he's got back problems, and that just sounds like Greg Oden. He's with his knee problems, so I don't want a 7-footer with that much weight, you know, and all his injury problems. So I don't even know who I would want at the top pick.
No one does.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's no secret the Sixers want a wing. They have Noel at center for next year. They have a guard in Carter Williams. You know, so obviously they want Parker or Wiggins. And even if they do get the number one chance at, you know, the number one seed with the ping pong balls, that only means you have a 25% chance to win. So you're still more likely to not get the number one pick. That's a 75% chance to lose. We all know math here. So, yeah, so I think, you know, it's in the Sixers' best interest that Parker comes out and you don't end up with, you know, some stiff. So
Yeah, mark it down. My prediction, Wiggins this year, Parker next year. Put it in the books.
Really?
Could you imagine that? Anyway, we'll move on to the Philadelphia Flyers, who are playing good hockey. They lost 2 of the past games in shootouts to the Boston Bruins and the St. Louis Blues, who are top of the NHL. Take a look at what they could do in the playoffs. They can clinch a playoff spot this Sunday versus Buffalo if all goes according to plans. They missed the playoffs last year, but the thing is they could see the Rangers in the first round of the playoffs. Guys, how excited are you for the Flyers this year?
Yeah, I'm very excited. This group really showing kind of an interesting comparison to the 2010 team that went to the conference finals. Because keep in mind, at the beginning of that season, Peter Laviolette was not the head coach. John Stevens was. John Stevens gets fired. Peter Laviolette comes in. They embrace the new system, go to the conference finals. Sort of a Rush similar story here, as Laviolette fired 3 games in. Still don't agree with that, but Craig Berube gets hired, and eventually the Flyers buy into their system, and they've been looking good. They've been showing that they could play with the top teams in the NHL, even though they did lose to the Bruins and they did lose to the Blues. They took them to shootouts. So they've been playing these top teams very tough lately, and they've been losing, with the exception to the Rangers game, only by a goal. So they've been in these games throughout. And how poetic is that, of course, the team that really has been owning them lately has been taking up the New York Rangers, and that's the team they could see in the playoffs. I don't know. I'm excited for this Flyers team.
Yeah, I'm really excited, and the thing that has me most confident about this team is their defense and goaltending has been great over the past 20 games. Emery and Mason, each night, you know they're going to give you 2 or less goals. And the defense, which at the beginning of the year was so bad, has, with the same players and the addition of Andrew McDonald, has really rebounded. The offense is a little inconsistent. It concerns me a little bit, but I think they have enough talent that it'll come around.
yeah, you know, the energy and defense has definitely stepped up. Like I said, like he alluded to, I'm in the same camp. I didn't think Laviolette deserved to be fired, but you can't argue with the results. They've played a lot better since that time. I don't think anyone saw them going on the run that they have. And, you know, the teams that they've lost to, they've been good teams, and they've lost in, you know, tightly contested battles. And that's kind of what the playoff atmosphere is about. I don't like that they're playing the Rangers. As much as I don't like New York teams, they seem to, you know, not be able to get over that wall. But I'm excited. It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, it should be interesting to see. It might be the only playoff team for a while here in Philadelphia. But we'll move on to our Fast Five segment here on Sports Talk Philadelphia on LaSalle TV. First question to Tyler.
Yes.
Will Jabari stay at Duke? And if so, where does he go in next year's draft?
Wow, that's a tough
deep,
hitter.
right? Yeah.
I think he could stay at Duke. I really do, because he seems like he's dedicated to that program. So I think he does stay at Duke, and if that's the case, anybody's guess for next year. I don't know how bad the Sixers will be.
True. All right, Eric. What pick will the Sixers have this year? Where is the ping pong ball going to fall?
Just because I don't want to jinx it, 4.
Wow.
Wow, safe.
All right. You hate the Sixers. Just kidding. Next, Jordan. Will the Phillies score 14 runs again this year in a game?
No, because gotta be honest, someone's gonna be out of the lineup. They're not gonna play. They'll probably play a pitcher that's that bad, but the odds aren't in their favor.
All right, Tyler. Are you happy with shootout losses for the Flyers? Are you happy with the Bruins game and the Blues game?
At this point, yeah. I mean, obviously, well, thankfully there are no shootouts in the regular season. So for now, with the season winding down, you know what? Yeah, I'll take that because they're still playing these teams tough. And again, in the playoffs, it's continuous overtime. So the Flyers will not have to worry about shootouts in the playoffs.
All right, Eric. How long will Jonathan Papelbon be in Philadelphia?
Wow.
Right?
Till the end of the season.
This season?
Yeah, I think he'll last this season.
So where does he go after?
Who knows?
They release
He
him
might-
or
he
trade
might-
him?
I think they'll find in the last year of his deal. I think they'll find a trade partner.
Alrighty, well that'll do it for this week's edition of Sports Talk Philadelphia. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can go to our website, lasalle.edu/LaSalleTV, or you can hit us on the email, lasalletv@lasalle.edu. We're also on social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Not Instagram yet, we're working on that. I don't know what we would put on Instagram. But Sports Talk Phila, use keyword search Sports Talk Philadelphia on Facebook and YouTube. That'll do it for this week's show. Thank you very much for tuning in, and we will see you next week.